Ready to pass the GED Math Test? Let's dive straight into 46 practice questions just like the real exam. Which of the following correctly represents the distance between the 2 points on the number line? A. -2 minus 5. B. -2 plus 5. C. Absolute value of -2 minus 5. D. Absolute value of -2 plus 5. To find the distance between 2 points on the number line, you will have to find the absolute value of one of the numbers minus the other number. The vertical bars here represent absolute value. For this question, our A value is -2 and our B value is 5. So we have the absolute value of -2 minus 5. So option C is the correct answer. Option D also has absolute values, but it is adding, so it's wrong. If you're not familiar with absolute value or anything else in this video and want to learn more, we have a lot of additional resources to help you pass at ultimateged.com. We'll tell you more about this after the No Calculator section. Simplify 16 squared minus 14 squared. A. 30. B. 56. C. 60. D. 100. You cannot use a calculator on this question. One of the skills that is becoming very important on the GED is using the best method to solve a question. If you already know the best way to solve this, share it in the comments below before I reveal the correct method. For a question like this, a lot of students will be tempted to use the long method by first squaring the 16. 16 squared is 16 times 16. Multiply the 16 by 6 to get 96. Then multiply the 16 by 1 to get 16. Add this to get 256. Then they will do the same for the 14 squared. 14 squared is 14 times 14. Go through a similar process to get 196. Then finally they will subtract 256 minus 196. This will give us 60. This will get you the answer, but it's just a bad method for simplifying this. A better way to solve this question is to identify that this is the difference of two squares. When you have a number squared minus another number squared, then the answer will be the first number minus the second number times the first number plus the second number. Please note that this works only if the two numbers are squared and the sign in the middle must be minus. If you look at it this way, then all you are doing is 16 minus 14. This is 2. Then 16 plus 14. This is 30. You can then multiply the two numbers. 2 times 30 is 60. So our answer is option C, 60. You'll notice that this is much simpler multiplication and an easier solution overall. Please encourage us to post more videos by liking, sharing, and subscribing. We really appreciate it. What value of x makes the function undefined? A. X equals 2. B. X equals -2. C. X equals 3. D. X equals -3. There are two conditions that makes a function undefined. 1. A function is undefined if the denominator of the fraction is 0. Example, 5 over 0 is undefined. 2. A function is undefined for the square root of a negative number. Example, the square root of -9 is undefined. For this question, the function will be undefined if the denominator is 0. So we want an x value that will make the denominator 0. You do not need to do any major calculation from this question. Which of the answer choices can replace x to get 0? We can see that if we replace the x in the function with -2, we will get -2 plus 2, which is 0. So the x value that makes this function undefined is -2. Therefore, the correct answer is B. Simplify the following radical expression. Square root of 75 plus square root of 12. A. 7 times the square root of 3. B. 3 times the square root of 7. C. 5 times the square root of 15. D. 3 times the square root of 11. We will start by simplifying each of the terms. To simplify roots or radicals, there are two things you are looking at. One is the value under the square root sign a perfect square. Can it be written as a number times itself? 4 is a perfect square. That is 2 times 2. 9 is a perfect square. That is 3 times 3. 16 is a perfect square. That is 4 times 4. Hope you get the point. Here is a list of the first 10 perfect squares. 2. Can the number be written as a perfect square times another number? Example: 8 can be written as the perfect square 4 times 2. If you cannot use 1 or 2, then the radical cannot be simplified. For the square root of 75, we will notice that 75 is not a perfect square. However, 75 can be written as the perfect square 25 times 3. 25 times 3 is 75. We can find the square root of the 25. 5 times 5 is 25. So square root of 25 is 5. Since we did not find the square root of the 3, it will remain under the root sign. So we have 5 times root 3. For the square root of 12, we will notice that 12 is not a perfect square. However, 12 can be written as the perfect square 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. We can find the square root of the 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So square root of 4 is 2. Since we did not find the square root of the 3, it will remain under the root sign. So we have 2 times root 3. Like the way we can add like terms, we can add similar radicals. This part must be exactly the same. Since they both have square root of 3, we will add the numbers. 5 plus 2. This is 7. Then we will annex the common radical. That is square root of 3. So the correct answer is A, 7 times the square root of 3. Arrange the following numbers from least to greatest. Absolute value of negative 1.3, 0.5, 3 over 2, and 1.1. For this question, the best way will be to make everything a decimal and compare the decimals. The only value that is not in the decimal form is 3 over 2. 3 over 2 is the same as 1.5. We just divided the 3 by the 2. The absolute value of any number is the positive of that number. So the absolute value of negative 1.3 is the same as 1.3. Now we can compare. 0.5 is the smallest, then 1.1, then the 1.3. This is the absolute value of negative 1.3. Then 1.5. This is 3 over 2. Congratulations on completing the No Calculator section of the GED Math Test. Sip on some water, grab your calculator, and stretch a little before we move on to the next section. To pass this section, you must be familiar with the GED Math Formula Sheet and the TI-30XS Multiview Scientific Calculator. You can get a lot of questions correct just with these two, especially the geometry questions. Also, remember that UltimateGED.com has everything you need to pass the GED Math Test. We've helped thousands of students, and we can help you too. We have a complete GED math course with over 200 videos and quizzes designed to take you step by step from basic math through algebra, geometry, and functions and graphs. We cover it all. You also have access to over 2,500 GED students. If you have a question, someone here definitely has the answer. Let's dive in. Maria and David each own a house cleaning business. The amount Maria charges for cleaning by the hour is shown in the table. The amount David charges for cleaning by the hour is shown in the graph. What is the difference between Maria's and David's cleaning services in the amounts they charge for 5 hours of work? On the GED Math Test, there are questions where you are given different representations, such as graphs, tables, or equations, and your task is to compare them. For this question, we are only concerned about 5 hours of work. For David's cleaning service, we can draw a line at the 5-hour mark. We can see that 5 hours of work corresponds to $150. So, David's cleaning service charges $150 for 5 hours of work. For Maria's cleaning service, the amount charged for 5 hours of work has not been given. There are several ways to find that out for this question. I'm using the function rule idea. You'll notice that when you multiply each of the hours by 35, you'll get the amount charged. For example, when you multiply 2 by 35, you get 70. When you multiply 4 by 35, you get 140, and so on. This implies that when you multiply 5 by 35, you'll get the amount for 5 hours. We have 5 times 35, which gives us 175. Since the values here are linear, you could also find the amount for 5 hours by finding the amount between 4 and 6. To do this, we just add the amounts for 4 hours and 6 hours and divide by 2. So we have 140 plus 210, which equals 350. 350 divided by 2 is 175. There are other ways to solve this as well. Once you know the amounts the two cleaning businesses charge, we can now find the difference by subtracting. We have 175 minus 150. This gives us $25. So Maria's cleaning service charges $25 more than David's cleaning service. Factor the quadratic expression. X squared minus 7x plus 12. A. X plus 2 times x plus 6. B. X minus 2 times x minus 6. C. X plus 3 times x plus 4. D. X minus 3 times x minus 4. For this question, our work is to find two numbers that multiplies to get the constant. In this case, the plus 12. The two numbers must also add up to get the coefficient of the x, which is negative 7. This takes some trial and error and depends mainly on how good your multiplication is. The two numbers here will be negative 4 and negative 3. Negative 4 times negative 3 will be positive 12. Negative 4 plus negative 3 will be negative 7. After finding these numbers, all you'll do is put them in parentheses with the x and you're done. So we have x minus 4 and x minus 3. The correct answer is therefore option D. Please, this method works only if there's no number in front of the x squared. In math, we say the coefficient of the x squared is 1. You can watch our video on quadratic equations for more. Determine which table represents a function. Questions about determining if a table or graph represents a function are very common on the GED. For a table or graph to represent a function, no input value can have more than one output value. The input values are the x values, and the output values are the f of x or y values. For a table like this, each of the x values must be unique. The y values can repeat. We are only concerned about the x values not repeating. Let's start with option A. Option A is not a function because there are two negative 2's. Remember, the x values cannot be repeated. Negative 2 gives 4, and negative 2 also gives 3. The input value negative 2 is giving two output values. From our rule, we know that no input value can have more than one output values. Let's look at option B. Option B is not a function because the 4 repeats. The input value 4 is giving us more than one output values. Let's look at option C. Option C is not a function because there are two 3's. Again, the input value 3 has more than one output values. The correct answer is option D. Notice that none of the x values repeat. You can see that the value 5 for the y value repeats. This is still a function because we are not concerned about whether the y values repeat or not. Please check out ultimateged.com for more on functions, especially graphs of functions. A coffee shop recorded the number of customers they served from Monday to Friday. They noticed that the highest number of customers came on Friday. The number of customers on Monday was half of what it was on Wednesday. The sum of the customers on Monday and Wednesday was equal to the number of customers on Thursday. Which graph best represents the number of customers served throughout the week? On the GED Math Test, there are often questions where information is given, and your task is to identify which graph represents it. The key here is to be observant. For this question, we know that Friday had the highest number of customers. This statement immediately eliminates options B and C because both have Thursday as the highest, not Friday. This leaves us with options A and D. The next statement is that the number of customers on Monday was half of what it was on Wednesday. For option A, we can see that this is true. Monday has 100 customers, which is half of Wednesday's 200 customers. For option D, it might initially seem true, but if you look closely at the graph, you will notice that the number of customers on Monday is not exactly 100, it's about 90. This is not half of 200 for Wednesday. Therefore, we can conclude that option A is the correct answer. To be thorough, let's check the third statement. The sum of the customers on Monday and Wednesday was equal to the number of customers on Thursday. We know the number of customers on Monday was 100, and the number on Wednesday was 200. Adding them gives us 300 customers, which matches the 300 customers for Thursday. So, option A is definitely the correct answer. In option D, even if you didn't notice the slight difference in Monday's value, you would still see that adding the customers on Monday and Wednesday would not equal the value for Thursday. Therefore, option D does not satisfy the last condition either. The city park is planning to create a new flower bed with a shape like the diagram below. What will be the area of this new flower bed? A. 250 square feet. B. 300 square feet. C. 350 square feet. D. 400 square feet. This is a typical example of a GED math question that you can easily solve by using the formula sheet and the calculator. To solve this question, the first thing you have to be able to do is identify the shape of the diagram. This is a trapezoid. The area of a trapezoid is equal to half the height, h, multiplied by the sum of the lengths of its two parallel bases, b1 and b2. The height is the perpendicular distance between the two bases. This formula will be given to you on the GED. These are the parallel bases. Let's call this base 1 and this base 2. This is the height, h. Please be careful when identifying what values to use. That is where most students get answers wrong. Once you have identified your values, just plug them into the formula. Then we can just input everything on the calculator. Again, just be careful not to make mistakes inputting the values. We got 300 on the calculator. So the correct answer is B, 300 square feet. What expression represents thrice the sum of a number z and 8? To pass the GED, you must be familiar with translation of word into math. You can check out our full video on translations, or you can download the translation sheet using the links below. Let's look at the solution. Thrice means 3 times. Sum is addition, but it's a group word, so you have to put the values in parentheses. The sum of z and 8 will be in parentheses z plus 8. When you have times in front of parentheses, you can take it off. So our answer is option A. Please, it's important you check out the translation video. There's much more to learn. On a coordinate plane, plot the following 4 points. A, -4, -3. B, negative 4, 2, C, 5, 2, and D, 5, negative 3. After plotting these points, connect them in the order A to B, B to C, C to D, and D to A to form a figure. What is the figure formed? To answer this question, you have to know how to plot points on the coordinate plane and also identify shapes. Let's start by plotting our points. We know that on a point notation, the first value is your x value and the second value is your y value. So for A, negative 4, negative 3, the x value is negative 4 and the y value is negative 3. So this is our point. For B, negative 4, 2, the x value is negative 4 and the y value is 2. So this is our point. For C, 5, 2, the x value is 5 and the y value is 2. So this is our point. And for D, 5, negative 3, the x value is 5 and the y value is negative 3. So this is our point. We are told to connect the points in the order A to B, B to C, C to D, and D to A. After connecting the points, we will notice that opposite sides are parallel and equal, and the angles are at 90 degrees. So this is a rectangle. Find the slope and y-intercept of the line. Y equals negative 3x plus 5. Slope questions are now very common on the GED Math. Almost everyone gets something on slopes. For this question, you'll use the formula for the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line, which is y equals mx plus b. This will be given on the GED formula sheet, so you don't have to memorize it, but being familiar with it can help with your speed. In this form, the slope is the m. This is the coefficient of the x, or simply put, what is with the x. So here, the negative 3, which is the coefficient of the x, is our slope. The y-intercept is the b. This is the constant, or simply put, what is without the x. So here, the 5 will be our y-intercept. Slope is negative 3, y-intercept is 5. Pretty straightforward once you know the formula. What is the slope of the line represented by the equation 2y equals 3x plus 6? A, 2 over 3. B, negative 2 over 3. C, 3 over 2. D, negative 3 over 2. The correct answer is C, 3 over 2. This is similar to the previous question, but you have to be careful. This equation is not in the slope-intercept form. For it to be in the slope-intercept form, we want the y to be by itself. We can achieve that by dividing through by 2. The 2 will cancel out. 6 over 2 is 3. So we have y equals 3 over 2x plus 3. Now this is in the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. Y equals mx plus b. We said in this form, the number with the x is our slope. So our slope is 3 over 2. Convert 96 inches to feet. We are given our conversion factor as 1 foot equals 12 inches. This is a simple question. Please do not get confused when a question like this is made a word problem. This same question could have been: Sarah is building a garden fence. She has a long piece of wood that is 96 inches long. To calculate how many fence posts she needs, she wants to know the length of the wood in feet. How many feet long is Sarah's piece of wood? We can use proportions to solve this, but the best setup looks like this. We will look at proportions later. You'll first write down what you are converting. In this case, 96 inches. Then you'll bring your conversion factor. You want to write it in a fraction form such that the inches will cancel out. Here, we will write 1 foot over 12 inches. The inches can cancel out. We now have 96 times 1 foot over 12. This will give us 8 feet. So 96 inches is 8 feet. Let's take an example to make this clearer. Convert 6 feet to inches. We are given our conversion factor as 1 foot equals 12 inches. You'll first write down what you are converting. In this case, 6 feet. Then you'll bring your conversion factor. You want to write it in a fraction form such that the feet will cancel out. Here, we will write 12 inches over 1 foot. The feet can cancel out. We now have 6 times 12 inches over 1. This will give us 72 inches. So 6 feet is 72 inches. The line graph below shows the monthly sales from January to June. Based on the data, which month experienced the largest increase in sales compared to the previous month? A. February. B. March. C. April. D. June. This is a very simple question that a lot of GED test takers get wrong, because they confuse the highest value with the highest increase. Let's take some few minutes to look at it. For this question, you are told compared to the previous month, so it's easy to know what the question is asking. But even if that statement is not there, the question remains the same. We can see that the graph is increasing here, 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 and here. From here, the best way to answer this question is to eyeball the section that has the steepest slope. Or you can look at it as the increase line that is the longest. We can see that this occurs from February to March. So the largest increase in sales is in March. There are other ways you can eyeball, depending on the specific question. There are situations where eyeballing is not possible or difficult. In cases like that, you should calculate. You can find the largest increase by subtracting the previous month's sales from the current month's sales. So the increase from January to February will be 480 minus 450. This will be 30 units. We do the same from February to March. We have 800 minus 480. This will give us 320. We can do that for the rest of the months that there was an increase to get these as the values. We can see that the correct answer is option B, March. If we were just looking at the largest sales, the answer will be June, since June is 900 units. Evaluate g of x equals 5x squared minus 2x when x equals 3b. A. G of 3b equals 27b squared minus 6b. B. G of 3b equals 45b squared minus 6b. C. G of 3b equals 15b squared minus 6b. D. G of 3b equals 45b squared minus 12b. For a question like this, our work is to substitute the x in g of x by the 3b, since we are told x equals 3b. G of 3b equals 5 times 3b squared minus 2 times 3b. When we square 3b, we multiply 3 by itself and b by itself, which gives us 9b squared. We have g of 3b equals 5 times 9b squared minus 2 times 3b. Then we need to multiply the terms. We multiply 5 by 9b squared. 5 times 9b squared equals 45b squared. And we multiply minus 2 by 3b. Minus 2 times 3b equals minus 6b. So the correct answer is option B, g of 3b equals 45b squared minus 6b. The graph below represents the number of items sold in each category at a retail store during a week. What is the average number of items sold per category? A. 22. B. 24. C. 26. D. 28. This question wants us to find the average from the graph. Understanding graphs and calculating averages are extremely important for passing the GED. You'll need it for GED Math, GED Science, and GED Social Studies. The average will be the sum of the items divided by the number of categories. Category A has 10 items, Category B has 30 items, Category C has 20 items, Category D has 40 items, and Category E has 30 items. We add this to get 130 items. This will be divided by the number of categories, which is 5. We do the division to get the average as 26. Therefore, option C, 26, is the correct answer. Which of the following graphs represents the equation y equals 2x plus 3? One of the biggest ways to waste time on the GED is by calculating things that do not need calculations. For this question, you can find the answer by calculation, but that will be too much work. The first thing we notice is that the equation is in the slope-intercept form. This is y equals mx plus b. In this form, the value with the x is your slope, and the value without the x is your y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line meets the y-axis. For this question, the slope is 2 and the y-intercept is 3. Since all these lines meet the y-axis at different points, we can consider that to find the answer. We are looking for the line that meet the y-axis at the point 3. We can see that the blue line meets the y-axis at 3. So the y-intercept of the blue line is 3. Same as the equation. From the legend, we know that the blue line is A. Therefore, line A is the correct answer. The relationship between temperature in Celsius, C, and Fahrenheit, F, is described by the equation F equals 9/5C plus 32. Which of the following equations correctly represents the temperature in Celsius, C, as a function of the temperature in Fahrenheit, F? This question is just asking us to solve for C. This is the same thing as transpose of formula or change of subject. To solve for C, we want the C to be on one side of the equation and everything else on the other side of the equation. This means we have to remove the times 9 divided by 5 and plus 32. We start with the plus 32. To remove it, we have to perform the opposite operation on both sides of the equation. The opposite of addition is subtraction, so we will subtract 32 from both sides. This 32 will cancel out. Now we have F minus 32 equals 9/5 times C. Next, we get rid of the 9/5 by dividing both sides by 9/5. The 9/5 is multiplying, so we performed the opposite operation on it, which is division. The 9/5 will cancel out. When you divide by a fraction, the fraction just flips. So the 9/5 becomes 5/9. When you have multiple terms, the best practice is to put it in parentheses before you multiply or divide. So now we have 5/9 times in parentheses F minus 32 equals C. So the correct answer is option D. A cylindrical tank has a radius of 5 feet and a height of 10 feet. How many gallons of water can the tank hold? Note, 1 cubic foot equals 7.48 gallons. Pi is 3.14. A. 5,600 gallons. B. 5,872 gallons. C. 6,000 gallons. D. 6,200 gallons. For this question, we are finding the volume of a cylinder. The formula for finding the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared, h. This formula will be given to you on the GED. We place our values in. Volume equals pi, which is 3.14, times r squared. The radius is 5, so we have 5 squared. Then we have times h. The height is 10, so we have times 10. We work this out on the calculator to get 785 cubic feet. We can see that our answer choices are not in cubic feet, so we have to convert it to gallons. Converting units is one of the most important things on the GED math. Let's set it up. We write the value we want to convert. In this case, the 785 cubic feet. Then we take the conversion factor. We want to write it in a way that the cubic feet will cancel out. So for this, we will write the 7.48 gallons on top, then divide it by the 1 cubic foot. Since it's dividing, the cubic feet will cancel the cubic foot. We have 785 times 7.48. This is 5,871.8. Rounding it up, we have 5,872. The correct answer is therefore option B. Vivian is setting up a circular trampoline in her backyard. The trampoline's jumping surface has an area of 10 pi square feet. Vivian wants to determine the diameter of the trampoline to ensure it fits in the designated spot in her backyard. Which of the following options represents the correct diameter of the trampoline? A. 2 root 5. B. 5 root 2. C. 2 root 10. D. 10 root 10. Before we even solve the question, I want you to know that the diameter of a circle is the longest distance from one part of the surface to the other. So if you want to fit a circular object into a space, you will need the diameter. For this question, we need the area formula because we have been given the area in the question. All formulas are given to you on the GED Math, so nothing to memorize. The area of a circle is pi r squared. We are told the area of her trampoline is 10 pi. We can solve for r. Divide both sides by the pi. They will all cancel out. So we have r squared equals 10. We need to find the r. To get the r by itself, we will find the square root of both sides. The square will cancel the square root. Then we will have the square root of 10. This is the radius, but we are supposed to find the diameter. The diameter is 2 times the radius. So diameter will be 2 root 10. The correct answer is therefore option C. A line M passes through the point -2, 4 and has a slope of -2. Which of the following points also lies on the line M? A. -4, 6. B. -1, 2. C. 0, 2. D. 3, -2. Slope questions are also very common on the GED. We have a video on slopes. You can check it for more. For this question, we have been given a point and a slope. So we will start with the point-slope formula, which will be given to you on the GED. Y minus y1 equals m, in parenthesis, x minus x1. Our work is to change it to the slope-intercept form so that we can input the values in the choices. x1 and y1 are the values of the point you have been given, and m is the slope. We put these values into the equation. We have y minus 4 equals -2 in parentheses, x minus -2. Minus -2 can simply be written as plus 2. We expand. -2 times x is -2x. -2 times 2 is -4. So we have y minus 4 equals -2x minus 4. We want the y to be on one side of the equation. We will add 4 to both sides. The 4 will cancel out. So we have y equals -2x. Now that we have the equation in the slope-intercept form, we can input our x values from the option and check if we will get our y value. Let's start with option A. The x value is -4 and the y value is 6. We have y equals -2 times -4. -2 times -4 is 8. It is not 6, so choice A is wrong. Let's check choice B. We input our x value. We have y equals -2 times -1. -2 times -1 is 2. This is the expected y value, so option B is the correct answer. Question 13. What function represents the information in the table? A. F of x equals 2x plus 1. B. F of x equals x minus 3. C. F of x equals x plus 3. D. f of x equals 3x minus 3. Here, the best way is to solve it from the answers. We input the x values into the various functions and see if we will get our f of x values. For teaching purpose, we are going through everything. You don't have to on the test. You can accurately eyeball and eliminate obvious wrong choices. Since it's easy to work with 0, I'll try that first so I can narrow the possible answers. Replace x with 0 for choice A. 2 times 0 plus 1 equals 1. It was supposed to be -3, so choice A is definitely wrong. Replace x in choice B with 0. 0 minus 3 equals -3, so choice B is a possible answer. Now replace x with 1 in choice B to confirm. 1 minus 3 equals -2. It was supposed to be 0, so choice B is wrong. Replace x in choice C with 0. 0 plus 3 equals 3. It was supposed to be -3, so choice C is wrong. So since choice A to C are wrong, it means choice D will be the answer. Let's confirm. Let's replace x with 0. We have 3 times 0 minus 3 equals -3 as expected. We try 1. We have 3 times 1 minus 3 equals 0 as expected. Then we try 2. We have 3 times 2 minus 3 equals 3 as expected. So D is definitely the answer. What is the slope of the line below? A. 1. B. -1. C. -2. D. 2. The correct answer is B. -1. The slope of a line is the change in y over the change in x. We know that the change in y simply means how many points you are going up or down. If you are going up, then you have a positive change. If you are going down, then you have a negative change. The change in x simply means how many points you are going to the right or left. If you are going to the right, then you have a positive change. If you are going to the left, then you have a negative change. Let's look at our question. Our first step will be to choose any 2 points on the line. I am choosing these 2 points. Let's call it A and B. You can choose any 2 points on the line. However, it is important to choose points that will make your work easier. Choose points whose x and y values can be easily determined. Normally, points at the corners are best. Now to find the slope, all we are doing is moving from one point of the line to the other on the slope triangle. Let's move from B to A. We moved down 2 points. Notice moving down is negative. So we have -2 here. Then we will move to the right 2 points to get to A. Notice that moving to the right is positive. We have 2 here. -2 over +2 is -1. So our slope is -1. Notice that our first movement is always change in y, that is moving up or down, then our second movement is change in x. That is moving left or right. There are other ways we could have moved to get the same results. Check our other GED videos for more. The sum of 3 consecutive integers is 72. If the smallest integer is x, which of the following equations must be true? A. X plus 2 plus x plus 4 equals 72. B. 3x plus 1 equals 72. C. 3x plus 3 equals 72. D. X plus 2x plus 3x equals 72. To answer this question, you must know what consecutive integers are. Consecutive integers are just integers that follow each other. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are consecutive integers. 15, 16, and 17 are also consecutive. I hope you get the point. For consecutive integers, we notice that if we add 1 to the first number, we will get the second number. So 15 plus 1 gave us 16. If we add 2 to the first number, we will get the third number. So 15 plus 2 gave us 17. We are told that the smallest number, which is also always the first number, is x. So the second number will be x plus 1, and the third number will be x plus 2. From the question, we know that the sum of these numbers is 72. So x plus 1 plus x plus 2 equals 72. We add like terms. X plus x is 3x, plus 1 plus 2 is 3. So the correct answer is option C, 3x plus 3 equals 72. Please note the 15, 16, and 17 used here were just for explanation. If you want to find the values, you have to solve for x. That is beyond the scope of this question. The three consecutive values will be 23, 24, and 25. You can verify this. They add up to 72. A rectangular field is to be fenced. The length of the field is twice its width. If the width of the field is represented as s meters, what expression represents the total amount of fencing needed to enclose the entire field? A. 2s plus 4. B. 6s. C. 6s plus 2. D. 4s plus 2. Questions in which the answer is an expression is also common on the GED. You have to be familiar with geometry word problems that requires you to find the area or perimeter. Here, we are talking about fencing, so the question is about perimeter. If the question was, how much grass will cover the field, we will be looking at the area. The formula for perimeter will be given to you on the GED. This is twice the length plus twice the width. From the question, we are told that the width is s, so we can replace the width with s. From the question, we are told that the length of the field is twice its width. So length equals 2 times width. But we know that the width is s, so this will be length equals 2s. We put this into the perimeter formula. We have 2 times 2s, plus 2 times s. 2 times 2s is 4s. So we have 4s plus 2s. This will give us 6s. Therefore, the expression that represents the total amount of fencing needed to enclose the field is 6s. So the correct answer is B. What is the surface area of the given cone? A. 150.72 centimeters squared. B. 250.32 centimeters squared. C. 301.44 centimeters squared. D. 360.56 centimeters squared. To determine the total surface area of the cone, we'll use the formula pi times radius squared plus pi times radius times slant height. This formula will be given to you on the GED, so no need to memorize. From the figure, our radius is 6 centimeters and slant height is 10 centimeters. Please be careful about the slant height. You are sometimes given the vertical height, not the slant height. We plug these values into our formula. We calculate pi times 6 squared plus pi times 6 times 10. Pi is 3.14. 6 squared is 36, and 6 times 10 is 60. So we have 3.14 times 36, plus 3.14 times 60. We work this on the calculator to get 113.04 plus 188.4. Summing these up, the total surface area becomes 301.44 square centimeters. Hence, the correct answer is C, 301.44 square centimeters. In a basketball practice session, two players, Player X and Player Y, were practicing free throws. Player X attempted 60 free throws and successfully made 33 of them. Player Y attempted 30 free throws and made 18. Based on their shooting percentages, who is the more accurate free throw shooter? A. Player X. B. Player Y. C. Both have the same shooting percentage. D. Cannot be determined. Comparison questions are common on the GED Math. Here, you've been told to compare based on their shooting percentage. To find the shooting percentage, we have to divide the number of successful shots by the total number of attempts and multiply it by 100. From the question, player X has attempted a total of 60 free throws. Out of these, player X has successfully made 33 shots. To calculate player X shooting percentage, divide the number of successful shots, 33, by the total number of attempts, 60. Then multiply by 100. We do this on the calculator to get 55%. So player X shooting percentage is 55%. From the question, player Y has attempted a total of 30 free throws. Out of these, player Y has successfully made 18 shots. To calculate player Y's shooting percentage, divide the number of successful shots, 18, by the total number of attempts, 30. Then multiply by 100. We do this on the calculator to get 60%. So player Y's shooting percentage is 60%. Based on the calculated shooting percentages, player Y is the more accurate free throw shooter. The correct answer is therefore B, player Y. A store sells a pack of pens for $12. Each pack contains 3 sets of pens. Each set contains 5 pens. What is the cost of each pen? A. $0.8. B. $1. C. $1.2. D. $1.5. To find the unit rate, or the cost of each pen, we will divide the total cost of the pack of pens by the total number of units, in this case, the total number of pens. The cost of the pack of pens is given as $12. The total number of pens can be calculated by multiplying the number of sets in each pack, which is 3, by the number of individual pens in each set, which is 5. This gives us a total of 15 pens. Now, we divide the total cost by the total number of pens. 12 divided by 15. Using a calculator, we find that the result is 0.8. So the correct answer is option A, $0.8. If Mary wants to make 36 cookies instead of 24 cookies according to her chocolate chip cookie recipe that requires 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of chocolate chips for the original yield, how much flour and how many cups of chocolate chips will she need for the increased yield? A. 3 cups of flour and 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. B. 2.5 cups of flour and 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. C. 3 cups of flour and 2 cups of chocolate chips. D. 2.5 cups of flour and 2 cups of chocolate chips. This is a typical GED math proportion question. Setting up proportions is one of the most important skills needed to pass the GED. Let's represent the cups of flour by X and the cups of chocolate chips by Y. For a proportion, there is a conversion factor that has been given. Here, for the flour, we know Mary used 2 cups to make 24 cookies. Also for the chocolate, we know she used 1 cup to make 24 cookies. Then we will set up the unknown. We know she wants to make 36 cookies, so we put it here. We don't know how many cups of flour she'll use, so we represent it by X. Once we have set up our proportion, we will cross-multiply. 36 times 2 is 72. Then X times 24 is 24X. Finally, we will solve for the X. Divide both sides by 24. The 24 will cancel out. 72 divided by 24 is 3. So she will need 3 cups of flour. Now let's look at the cups of chocolate chips she'll need. The setup is exactly the same. We know she wants to make 36 cookies, so we will put it here, under the cookies. We don't know how many cups of chocolate chips she needs. We will represent it by Y. Again, we will cross-multiply. 36 times 1 is 36. Then Y times 24 is 24Y. We solve for Y, divide through by 24. The 24 will cancel out. 36 divided by 24 is 1.5. So she'll need 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. So the correct answer is A, 3 cups of flour and 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. A company produces and sells gadgets. The cost to produce X gadgets is given by the polynomial Cx equals 5x squared plus 20x plus 100. The revenue generated from selling X gadgets is given by the polynomial Rx equals 15x squared plus 30x. Which of the following polynomial expressions represents the profit Px from producing and selling X gadgets? A. 10x squared plus 10x plus 100. B. 10x squared plus 50x plus 100. C. 10x squared plus 10x minus 100. D. 20x squared plus 50x minus 100. To pass the GED, you must be able to create polynomials from written descriptions. Here, we are writing an expression to represent Px, which is the profit. We know that the profit is the selling price minus the cost price. Selling price is the same as the revenue. So we are just going to subtract our polynomials. For subtracting polynomials, I like to write it like this. I have the selling price or revenue here, 15x squared plus 30x. Then I will write the cost price here, 5x squared plus 20x plus 100. Notice I wrote each term under its respective term. So x squared terms are lined up, x terms are lined up. Because there is a constant term in the cost price and no constant term in the revenue, I can write a 0 here to make it clearer. Now let's subtract. I like to start from the right, but for a question like this, it won't matter where you start. 0 minus 100 is minus 100. 30x minus 20x is 10x. Finally, 15x squared minus 5x squared is 10x squared. We can see that the correct answer is option C, 10x squared plus 10x minus 100. A pie chart shows the budget allocation for a small project. If the total budget for the project is $10,000, what is the difference in allocation between materials and labor? A. $500. B. $1,000. C. $1,500. D. $2,000. This is a typical GED math pie chart question. There are two easy ways to solve it. I will solve it by first finding the difference in the percentages. Materials is 40% and labor is 30%. 40 minus 30 is 10. So the difference is 10%. Now, to find the amount. We do exactly the same thing we did in the previous question. The total is 10,000. We have 10% of 10,000. This 10 over 100 times 10,000. This will give us 1,000. So the correct answer is B, 1,000. Solve the system of equations. 2x plus 3y equals 9. X minus y equals 2. A. X equals 2, y equals 1. B. X equals 3, y equals 1. C. X equals 4, y equals 2. D. X equals 3, y equals 2. There are several good ways to solve this question. You can watch our video on simultaneous equations for that. On the GED Math, the best way to solve this question is by checking which of the multiple choice answers satisfy the equations. I always start with the equation that is easy. For this, I'll look at x minus y equals 2. If I pick option A, x equals 2 and y equals 1. Place it in the second equation. 2 minus 1 is not 2, so option A is wrong. For option B, x equals 3 and y equals 1. We put that into the second equation. 3 minus 1 is 2, so this satisfies the second equation. We have to check if it satisfies the other equation. We have 2 times 3 plus 3 times 1. This equals 9. So it satisfies the first equation also. The correct answer is therefore option B, since it satisfies both equations. The length of a rectangle is represented by 2x plus 1 and the width by x minus 3. Which of the following polynomial expressions represents the area of the rectangle? A. 2x squared minus 6x minus 3. B. 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. C. 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. D. 2x minus 6x plus 3. To solve this question, you have to be familiar with finding the area of a rectangle, and you must also know how to multiply and simplify polynomials. The formula for finding the area of a rectangle will be given to you on the GED formula sheet. It is length times the width. In this question, we are told that the length is 2x plus 1. We can put it in place of the length here. We are also told the width is x minus 3. We replace the width with x minus 3. Next, to find the area, we have to multiply these two polynomials. We will multiply each term in the second polynomial by the terms in the first polynomial. Multiply the 2x by x to get 2x squared. Then multiply 2x by negative 3 to get negative 6x. Now we take the second term. Multiply 1 by x to get 1x, which is the same as x. Finally, multiply 1 by negative 3 to get negative 3. The method we used is commonly known as the FOIL method. I am personally not a fan of most acronyms in math. They bring little benefit and can actually make students get answers wrong. Next, we check if there are like terms we can combine. We can combine negative 6x plus x to get negative 5x. There's nothing more we can combine. Our answer is 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. So the correct option is option B. What inequality is represented by the number line? A. Negative 4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. B. Negative 4 is greater than x, which is greater than 3. C. Negative 4 is less than x, which is less than 3. D. Negative 4 is greater than or equal to x, which is greater than or equal to 3. There are three things we are looking at here. The first is the endpoints. Here, we have negative 4 and 3. We can see that all the answer choice have negative 4 and 3, so we cannot eliminate any of the choices. Next, we look at if the endpoint is shaded or not shaded. If it is shaded, then the inequality must have an equal sign. If it is not shaded, then the inequality does not have an equal sign. Both endpoints are not shaded, so we can eliminate choice A and choice D. They have equal sign. Finally, we pick a number to represent our x. The number must fall on the line we are writing the inequality for. I will use 1. You can use any of these numbers. Check which answer choice will be true. For choice B, we have negative 4 is greater than 1, which is greater than 3. This statement is not true. Negative 4 is not greater than 1, and 1 is not greater than 3. This leaves option C as the answer. We can verify. We are still using 1 for x. Negative 4 is less than 1, which is less than 3. This statement is true. So we confirmed that C is the answer. A spinner is divided into 8 equal sections, numbered from 1 through 8. If the spinner is spun, what is the probability of it landing on an even number? A. 1 over 4. B. 1 over 2. C. 3 over 4. D. 1 over 8. To pass the GED, you must be familiar with solving probability questions. To find the probability of landing on an even number, we need to count how many even numbers there are on the spinner, and then divide that by the total number of sections on the spinner. We are told the spinner has 8 sections numbered 1 to 8. Even numbers are simply multiples of 2. The even numbers between 1 and 8 are 2, 4, 6, and 8. So, there are 4 even numbers. Therefore, the probability of landing on an even number is the number of even sections, 4, divided by the total number of sections, 8. We can simplify the fraction. Reduce by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. The probability of the spinner landing on an even number is 1 over 2. So the correct answer is B, 1 over 2. What percentage of $15 is $10? A, 48%. B, 54%. C, 67%. D, 73%. This is a very common question in almost every standard math test. There are two easy ways to solve it. You can use the word problem idea or the proportion idea. We will use the proportion setup. You can check out ultimateged.com for the other kind and practice more examples and other twists. The setup is like this. The value after the of comes here. For this question, it is 15. The value after the is goes here. For this question, the value is 10. The percentage value goes here. For this question, that is what we are solving, so we can represent it by x. Next, we solve for x. We will multiply both sides by 100. The 100 will cancel out. 10 divided by 15 times 100 is 66.67. We can round this up to 67%. The correct answer is therefore option C, 67%. Olivia runs a boutique where she sells handcrafted jewelry. She buys silver chains at a wholesale price of $15 each and sells them for $25 each in her boutique. Olivia wants to determine the percentage profit she makes on each silver chain sold. What is the percentage profit Olivia makes on each silver chain? A, 48%. B, 54%. C, 67%. D, 73%. The formula for finding profit percent is the selling price minus the cost price over the cost price times 100. The selling price minus the cost price is the same as the profit. So if the value for the profit is given, you can use that rather. This is not a formula that is usually given on the GED. We are just going to plug our values in. The selling price was $25, the cost price was $15. We compute this on the calculator. 25 minus 15 divided by 15 times 100 is 66.67%. We can round this up to get 67%. Please, if you're not familiar with rounding numbers, check out ultimateged.com for more. The correct answer is therefore option C, 67%. If you don't remember the formula, then the way to go about it is to first find the profit. The profit is the selling price, that is $25, minus the cost price, which is $15. This will give us $10. From here, you are just finding what percentage of $15 is $10, like what we saw in the previous question. Mr. Johnson is planning to build a new patio in his backyard that consists of two adjoining shapes, a rectangle and a semicircle. The rectangle is 12 meters long and 8 meters wide. The semicircle will be added to one of the shorter sides of the rectangle with its diameter equal to the width of the rectangle. Mr. Johnson needs to calculate the total area of the patio to determine how much paving material he should purchase. What is the area of the new patio he plans to build? Pi equals 3.14. A, 104.75 square meters. B, 113.32 square meters. C, 130.34 square meters. D, 121.12 square meters. This is a typical geometry word problem. For geometry, it is important to get a diagram so you can have a clear picture of what you are working on. We know Mr. Johnson is building a backyard that consists of two adjoining shapes, a rectangle and a semicircle. We know the dimension of the rectangle as 12 meters long and 8 meters wide. The semicircle is attached to the shorter side, so we can attach it here. Now we want to find the total area of the patio. We will calculate the area of each shape and then add the areas. Let's start by finding the area of the rectangle. Area of a rectangle is the length times the width. So we will have 12 times 8. This will give us 96 meters squared. Next, we calculate the area of the semicircle. We know a semicircle is half a circle. The area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Therefore, the area of a semicircle is half times pi r squared. Or we can simply write it as pi r squared over 2. To find the area, we will need the radius, r. We can see that the diameter of the semicircle is the same as the width of the rectangle. This is 8 meters. We have the diameter, but we need the radius. Radius of a circle is half of the diameter. So radius is half of 8, which is 4. We put the 4 in the formula. We have pi, which is given as 3.14 times the radius 4 squared divided by 2. We work this out with our calculator to get 25.12. We add the area of the two shapes. 96 plus 25.12. This will give us 121.12 square meters. So the correct answer is option D. A car rental company charges $50 per day, plus $0.20 per mile for renting a car. If a customer rents a car for 3 days and drives 150 miles, how much will the rental cost? A. $120. B. $135. C. $150. D. $180. There are 2 charges in this question. To solve this problem, we'll calculate the total cost of renting the car by adding the daily charge to the mileage charge. Let's start by calculating the daily rental cost. The cost per day is $50. The customer rents the car for 3 days. The total daily rental cost is therefore 3 days times $50 per day. This will be $150. Now let's calculate the mileage cost. The cost per mile is $0.20. The customer drives 150 miles. The total mileage cost is therefore 150 miles times $0.20 per mile. This will be $30. We can now add the daily rental cost and the mileage cost. The total rental cost equals $150 plus $30. This equals $180. The correct answer is therefore D, $180. A school's budget for textbooks is $2,500. Each math textbook costs $50, and each science textbook costs $75. The school needs to purchase exactly 20 math textbooks. What is the maximum number of science textbooks they can purchase without exceeding their budget? A. 15 science textbooks. B. 18 science textbooks. C. 20 science textbooks. D. 25 science textbooks. The GED Math Test has a lot of everyday scenario word problems. For questions like this, you can set it as a single equation and solve it. However, you don't have to do that. Let's look at the solution without setting up a single equation. We are told how many math textbooks must be purchased. We must buy 20, each costing $50. So the total amount of the budget spent on math textbooks is 50 times 20, which is 1,000. You can use the rest of the money to buy the science textbooks. Since the total is $2,500, what you'll have left will be 2,500 minus 1,000. That is 1,500. Each science textbook costs $75. So to find how many science books you can purchase with 1,500, you need to divide 1,500 by 75. We do the division to get 20. The correct answer is C. The school can buy 20 science textbooks. Maria is planning a rectangular garden that will be 12 feet long and 8 feet wide. She wants to put a fence around the garden and then add a flower bed that is 1 foot wide around the outside of the fence. What is the total area covered by the garden and the flower bed? A. 96 square feet. B. 128 square feet. C. 120 square feet. D. 140 square feet. For GED geometry questions like this, it's important to have a diagram or a pictorial image of what the question is about. We have a rectangular garden that is 12 feet long and 8 feet wide. We want to put a fence around the garden and then add a flower bed that is 1 foot wide around the outside of the fence. This is the 1 foot bed. We know that area is length times width. All formulas are given on the GED, so no need to memorize anything. To find the total area covered by the garden and the flower bed, we need to find the total length and the total width. The full length is the length of the garden, that is 12, plus the 1 foot added on both sides, so the length is 14. The full width is the width of the garden, which is 8, plus the 1 foot added on both sides, so the width is 10. To find the area, we just have to multiply this. 14 times 10 is 140. So the correct answer is option D, 140 square feet. In a science experiment, the temperature T of a chemical reaction in degrees Celsius is calculated using the expression 5 times 2n plus 3 squared minus 4 times n plus 1 plus 7, where n is the number of hours the reaction has been running. If the reaction has been running for 3 hours, what is the temperature T of the reaction? A. 362 degrees Celsius. B. 396 degrees Celsius. C. 410 degrees Celsius. D. 423 degrees Celsius. For this question, you are given an expression. You are told that n is the number of hours the reaction has been running. You are supposed to find the temperature if the reaction has been running for 3 hours. Since we know n represents time, our work is just to replace the n in the expression with 3 and calculate the temperature. We have 5 times 2 times 3 plus 3 squared minus 4 times 3 plus 1 plus 7. You'll most likely be allowed to use a calculator for a question like this. Your work will be to type everything correctly and let the calculator do the magic of giving you the correct answer. We will, however, solve this here without a calculator so that you can practice using the order of operations. From the order of operations, we will perform the operations in parentheses first. We have 2 times 3 plus 3. This is 9. We have 3 plus 1. This is 4. Now we have 5 times 9 squared minus 4 times 4 plus 7. From the order of operations, we will do the exponent next. 9 squared is 9 times 9. This is 81. We now have 5 times 81 minus 4 times 4 plus 7. Next, from the order of operations, we will perform the multiplications. 5 times 81 is 405. 4 times 4 is 16. So we have 405 minus 16 plus 7. We work this out to get 396. So the correct answer is option B, 396 degrees Celsius. Based on the bar chart, which quarter of the year showed the highest total sales? A. January to March. B. April to June. C. July to September. D. October to December. This is pretty straightforward. The work here is being able to accurately eyeball or estimate the values of the graph. Eyeballing is a very great way to solve questions on graph. However, it is not the best method for everyone. Comparing the first quarter to the second quarter, we will see that all sales were 6,000 or below for the first quarter and all sales were above 6,000 for the second quarter. So January to March is definitely not the highest. Now, comparing the second quarter and the third quarter. The value for the April and September are about the same. That is about 7,000. The value for May and August are also about the same. That is 8,000. Our work is therefore comparing June and July. Clearly, July is more than June. Since July is more than June, we can say the second quarter cannot be the largest sale. Now, we compare the third quarter and the fourth quarter. This is where there is a little bit of work. I will cut off this part and place it here. By doing that, the September and November will be the same. August and December will also be the same. So we just have to compare July and October. We can see that July is more than October. This means the third quarter had the greatest sales. So the correct answer is option C, July to September. Eyeballing might not work for everyone. If that is you, then you can use estimates for each of the bars. Add the months in every quarter and compare. Example. We can estimate the sales for July as 8,500. The sales for August as 8,000. The sales for September as 7,000. Add these together to get 23,500 in sales for July to September. A teacher is planning an art project where each student needs 4 sheets of colored paper. Additionally, the teacher requires an extra 50 sheets for display backgrounds and other decorative elements. If S represents the number of students in the class and P represents the total number of sheets of paper needed, which equation best describes the relationship between the number of sheets of paper P and the number of students S? A. P equals 4S plus 50. B. P equals 50S plus 4. C. P equals 4 times S plus 50. D. P equals S plus 54. To pass the GED Math Test, you need to be able to translate paragraphs into equations. These equations are usually 2-step equations. Let's break it down. Questions like this typically involve a fixed part and a variable part. First, let's think about what the teacher needs. Every student needs 4 sheets of colored paper for the project. So if you have S students, you would need 4 sheets for each student. This means you multiply the number of students, S, by 4 to get 4S. This is the variable part. Next, the teacher also needs 50 extra sheets for the display backgrounds and other decorations. This is a fixed number and doesn't depend on the number of students. Now, if we put these two parts together, the total number of sheets of paper needed, P, would be the sheets for the students, 4S, plus the extra 50 sheets. So, the correct answer is option A, P equals 4S plus 50. Solve for x in the equation x minus 2 over 3 plus x plus 5 over 4 equals 7. A. 7. B. 11. C. 9. D. 10. One of the most important test-taking skills is to know when you don't need to do a full-fledged calculation. The best way to solve this question is to replace the x with the options in the multiple-choice answers and find out which value is true. Let's start with the 7. We have 7 minus 2, which is 5. Then we have 7 plus 5, which is 12. We have 5 over 3 plus 12 over 4. You add this on the calculator to get 14 over 3. This is not 7, so option A is wrong. We can try option B. We have 11 minus 2. This is 9. Then we have 11 plus 5. This is 16. We have 9 over 3 plus 16 over 4. We add this on the calculator to get 7. We could easily done this without a calculator also. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Add the 3 and the 4 to get 7. Since we had 7, which is the expected answer, option B is the correct answer. If you choose not to use the answer options, this is your alternative solution. For questions like this, our first work is to get rid of the denominators. We will find the least common multiple of the denominators. This is also known as the least common denominator. The denominators are 3 and 4. You can check out ultimateged.com for 3 different ways of finding the LCDs and pick the best one for you. For this question, we will just use the multiples idea. The multiples of 3 is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and so on. The multiples of 4 is 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. We can see that 12 is the smallest number that is common to both of them. So 12 is the LCM or LCD in this case. After finding the LCD, we multiply each of the terms by the LCD 12. Next, we will remove the fractions by reducing the terms. For the first fraction, 12 divided by 3 is 4. For the second fraction, 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now, let's expand and simplify. We multiply each term in the parenthesis by the term outside. We have 4 times x, this is 4x. Then we have 4 times minus 2. This is minus 8. Next, we have 3 times x, this is 3x. Then we have 3 times 5. This is 15. 12 times 7 is 84. Next, let's simplify by adding like terms. We can add the 4x and 3x to get 7x. Also, negative 8 plus 15 will be 7. We now have a simple two-step equation. To find x, we will first subtract 7 from both sides. The 7 will cancel out. 84 minus 7 is 77. Next, we will divide both sides by 7. The 7 will cancel out. 77 divided by 7 is 11. So x equals 11. The correct answer is therefore option B, 11. A singer borrows $5,000 for 2 years at 4% per annum simple interest. What is the interest the singer will pay at the end of the term? A. $200. B. $400. C. $600. D. $800. Simple interest questions are basically formula work, and the formula will be given to you on the GED formula sheet. Simple interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. We just substitute our values into the formula and solve. Please do not get questions wrong when a lot of unnecessary details is added. This question could have been: a singer needs to finance their upcoming tour and decides to take out a loan. They borrow $5,000 at an annual simple interest rate of 4%. The loan agreement specifies that the interest will accumulate over a period of 2 years, after which the entire interest amount will be due. Calculate the total interest the singer will have to pay at the end of these 2 years. This is the exact same question. Let's solve it. Here, the principal is $5,000. The rate is 4%. We convert it to the decimal form. 4% is 4 over 100. This is the same as 0.04. So we multiply this by 0.04. The time is 2 years, so we have times 2. We compute this on the calculator. 5,000 times 0.04 times 2 to get 400. So the interest the singer will pay is $400. The correct answer is therefore B, $400. We will end this video here. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to get the full course at ultimateged.com.